Welcome to the February edition of North St. Paul Notes. I'm your host, Paul Anderson. Coming up in the next half hour, we'll be joined by members of the Veterans Park Committee. Learn about a park that is dedicated to recognizing the service and sacrifice of military veterans. We'll also hear about upcoming events the Veterans Park Committee has planned and how you can purchase a paver. Stay tuned. North St. Paul Notes is straight ahead. Hello, and welcome to the February edition of North St. Paul Notes. We hope this show will keep you up to date on the news and events that are of interest to the residents of North St. Paul. After years of planning and fundraising, the majestic Veterans Park opened with great fanfare in April of 2015. The park features a memorial walk of more than 3,500 engraved pavers, commemorating those who served our country in war and peacetime. Today I'm joined by three members of the Veterans Park Committee. Please welcome Terry Furlong, Dan Fisher, and Angela Strong. So welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know if you agree with the term majestic Veterans Park.
Perfect.
So, it wasn't my word. I guess our producer put that in somehow.
Was he there? He must have been there.
He was. And Angela, this is the first time on the show. So,
It is. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here. I've always heard about you, but I guess we haven't run into each other very often. So I'm pleased to have you here with us.
Thank you.
Dan, you've been with it from the start.
Yep.
Well, you and Terry, actually. And so I'm going to call on you two to give us some of the history and how this whole thing got started. So you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, I can start out by saying Terry initiated it back when he recruited a number of us for the committee back in 2010. And maybe, Terry, you want to go from that point.
Well, I think it's easy. I talked to a few people, and Dan was one of my main persons talking to, and just asked him briefly if he'd like to volunteer to head up a committee for Veterans Park, building a park in North St. Paul. And he said right away yes, and from that point on, he didn't know what he was getting into.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So we started out at North High School and had a few team members, and from there it just kind of blossomed to where it is today.
I thought it was interesting that you said you asked him to head a committee, because that's a quick way to
Right. No,
to lose a member.
the team we put together was very beneficial for us,
Right.
because they're all vets, and actually not all of them were vets.
Of the 11, 8 were vets.
No.
I thought it was always kind of ironic that those who were really putting in a lot of the work were not even from North St. Paul.
True. Yep.
And that
Right.
it just seemed kind of unusual to me that these people would volunteer to do something like this and spend that much time at it.
Well, when Terry asks you to do something, you usually want to help him out because he's a good-hearted guy.
And he
so
needs a lot of help, you mean?
And he needs a lot of help.
Well, Terry's a member of the city council, so that didn't interfere with the process much either. So
No.
it was good to have him on board. But talk about it a little more then, too.
Well, once the team came together, the 11 members, we had legal advice, John Baker, historical advice from yourself, and none of us had ever built a monument before, so we just didn't know what we were getting into, which was a good thing. And so we began with the planning phase. We had some pro bono effort, DSGW architect, and all of this was volunteered labor, money, effort, time. And we started in on the fundraising part, which was selling pavers. And right here on the table is an example of what we had to do is to sell these pavers honoring veterans of all eras and all locations, not just North St. Paul.
Right.
And so we began by doing that, and the public trusted us enough to go along and give money for something they didn't even know what it was going to look like yet. And then the efforts grew, the design, the support with construction. The city was number one behind us. And we got some donated land, the old Cannon Park, which Henry Castle donated 150 years ago.
Back when it was called Central Park.
When it was Central Park. And we went along that and earned the money and went to each step, each phase, got some help from the state of Minnesota in bonding. So it grew, and so did the committee. The 11, we had, unfortunately, 2 people pass away, Bill Crowther and Ellsworth Erickson. And but then we got other volunteers to come along, and Angela was one of the newer volunteers. She came at about the time the wall was dedicated, the memorial was dedicated. And we weren't lacking in volunteers. They liked what they saw, and so did the public.
Right.
And what we tried to do was describe it all and keep a record. So we have a book that details the history of it in photographs, storyline, documents, anything that we could put down so we wouldn't forget it.
I should add that that book was primarily your effort, and it was an extra amount of work for you.
It was. Spelling was a big task for me. And you and Terry took care of that. And Jason Zemer did too.
Right.
But it documents it. And the surprise now is with efforts like Angela's effort with events, we're still selling pavers. And we're already up to 1,224 pavers when we started at 0. When we dedicated the wall, it was 601. And so we've managed to grow, and we've already sold 25 in this era, with the cutoff being April 1st. That's when we put in a new order. We'll get them in, install them in the summer, and then honor them at the POWMIA parade. So at that point, that's a new event, so we can kind of hand off the football, so to speak.
I'm assuming, just from the appearance of things, that all 3 of you are strong Viking fans.
Why?
So we're thinking about this. If this is viewed like 10 years from now, they're going to go, why are they wearing the Vikings hats?
I know it'll be
They're not going to understand why.
lost history,
right.
except that they always play it up again later on, just as they're doing now this year for the Vikings. And
So hopefully, if you do see this in a year or so, the Vikings will have won the Super Bowl. And they're very close to getting into the Super Bowl.
that makes people nervous,
Yeah.
A little bit.
talking about it.
Yep.
We're not
Game
at
at a
all.
time.
Superstitious.
Game at a time.
Well, back to the topic. You had mentioned something about changing the name of the wall?
No, we have a new name to be added to the wall.
A new
A new
name
a
on
name
the
of a
wall.
veteran,
Okay,
yes.
I see.
I was going to say, we didn't talk about this at all, changing the name of the wall.
No, this, I
guess
had
that
mentioned
was-
to Paul before we came that we have a new name for the wall.
That's it. Okay, that's what I misunderstood.
Well, the public is where it all comes up from. They give us the information, and apparently the class of 1966 out of North High got together and they were talking about names that were up on the wall, and they thought that there was 2 more to be added. So we took their information and vetted it, and there actually is one more 1966 grad, a William Roy LaPlante. He was killed in 1968 at the age of 20, and so he was there at North High for about 2 years. And so the school helped us vet the name and the history, and then, of course, government document. So we will be adding his name this summer with support of Cold Spring Granite, who is mentioned in the book.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons we did the design, to leave space in case we missed
Right.
up and didn't get them all.
I guess you can assume that there may be others added later too.
Very well could be.
Yeah. So it's pretty hard to cover everything in one sweep. So it comes sort of dribbling in later on.
That's why we wrote a book.
Yeah. Okay. If maybe you mentioned some of this, but if viewers are interested in buying a paver, how do they go about doing that?
Jerry?
We do have a website. They can actually, I think I don't know if you can see it here, but we do have the website. They can log on to the website. They can buy pavers on the website through PayPal, and that gets documented. My wife is the accountant right now, or the
Treasurer.
the treasurer, and she will get these pavers online. They can also pick up a brochure, get a brochure here. They can pick these up at City Hall, and I believe other businesses throughout North St. Paul.
Probably Legion and VFW.
Probably, yes, I would assume that both of those would have them. But if they want to look online, that's probably the first place to start looking, or go down to City Hall, and they have all the information down there
Sure.
for that.
Okay.
One of the things, Lori Canley at City Hall desk has been instrumental in designing and redesigning this format to make it user-friendly. So if they're at the desk, and if anybody needs a hand on exactly the information that they need, or to pick up a book if they've already, the pavers enable you to have a free book. If you want to make a slight donation, tax deductible, we are a 501c3. They can do that. And Lori would give them the websites and the Facebook. We have a couple Facebook accounts. So there's a lot of contact. It's just getting it to the public so that they can use their iPads and their phones. We even have a way to locate the paver in the ground,
In the ground.
and it's mentioned in the book. If you're looking for a name, bring it up, look for the name, it'll tell you where to go.
As far as the activities that you've been involved with, Angela, how did you actually get started with this, or how did this happen? I know that you have a business in North St. Paul. What is it called?
It's called Journey of Misfits Dog Training.
Journey Misfits?
Journey of Misfits Dog
Journey
Training.
Okay.
I'll let you draw your own conclusions.
You don't want to explain that?
It explains really well on my website
Okay.
the meaning behind it. Yeah.
Okay.
How did all of this happen? I was at an event out near the airport for Thanks Minnesota, and which is for veterans. And there was a team out there that flew in with the American flag, parachute team that flew in with the American flag, and they played music along with it, and there was not a dry eye in the place. It was outdoors, it was beautiful, and down they came with Old Glory. And I thought, wow. I mean, it takes your breath away. Right. And I briefly spoke to one of the gentlemen that jumped, and come to find out they're actually retired Navy SEALs. And he handed me his business card, and I thought, I'm opening up a new business in town, but they have this beautiful park.
Right.
And so do I put the two together? Nope. Nope. I wanted it to be about the veterans. So I contacted him. Next thing you know, they are jumping over North High and landing in the soccer field,
Right.
and then delivering a wreath to the wall at Veterans Park.
Okay. And that turned out to be a pretty nice day, didn't it?
We
As I
got very
recall.
lucky.
Yeah, it was November too.
Yeah, we usually,
Veterans Day.
for special events, we didn't really have good weather.
No, it seemed like every event we've had down there, it's either been cold, rainy, snowy.
We got really lucky.
Yeah.
We got really lucky, especially because the big wind front came through not long after they landed, and it was sideways sleet that had came on.
Oh,
Yep.
okay,
So
I
the
didn't
plane
remember
that was
that.
flown came from Duluth.
I see. So there was a later event that was supposed to happen, but didn't because of weather
Because of weather,
conditions.
yep.
Yeah, they're
Yep.
pretty sensitive about the weather. And,
Yep.
and so,
Yeah, the guys need a certain amount of area in which to jump, and they didn't have enough of that.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Well, what other events now are coming up that, have you been doing more promotions, or have you more ideas as to what?
You know, my brain's always busy. And being on the Veterans Committee has been an honor, and it's been wonderful to be part of it and to bounce ideas off of one another. And everybody in North St. Paul has been very welcoming to me. So being able to bring my thoughts and ideas to the forefront with Veterans Park has been eye-opening, I guess. And the new things that I have that are coming up that I've thought about was the POW MIA walk that they do. I think that started 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken.
It goes way back,
Okay.
but the one that Angela started to make special was 2 years ago.
Okay, that's the one that terminated at the park,
Correct, yeah.
where it usually would go up to the
VFW.
VFW.
Or Legion.
Legion,
Up to
that's
up by
yeah.
the Legion
Yep.
Club, up, I should say by the museum,
Correct.
actually.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so that was a change. Just looking at the three of you, I noticed that Angela has a much nicer Vikings cap than the rest of you, and I think she may have some special privileges. But because you did what?
I am a proud Vikings fan. I bleed purple and then some.
But I think you had more to do
I am
than
a
that.
former Vikings cheerleader, yes.
That's right.
And I'm alumni
Okay.
cheerleader.
I just
yes.
wanted to get that out before
Thank
we
you.
ran out of time. So that's
Now
been
back
quite
to
an
work.
experience for you too, I imagine.
Yep,
Yeah. Okay.
yep.
Well, any other events that you have rolling around in your head?
Well, we have another walk that's coming up, and that will be for the POW MIA walk.
Okay.
The Flag Day is coming up, Veterans Day, there will be an event. But we seem to be gathering the walk to be the big event that will be down there.
Okay.
I will be bringing in a truck, it's a big 18-wheeler, it has Tomb of the Unknown Soldier on it.
Oh,
And so that was part of the parade this year. And I shouldn't call it parade, but that was part of the event this year, which
Okay.
was, again, very, I don't know what word I'm looking for. It definitely, it takes you back.
right.
Yeah.
And I think the city, you know, our challenges now is because of these events, we're getting a lot of people down there,
Right.
which is very nice to see, you know, all these people that come in and honor the vets and understand, kind of educate them more in regards to, you know, the services. But we're looking at, you know, closing the street off more at these bigger events so we can handle more people.
Sure.
And as word gets out, not only are people from North St. Paul, but they're coming from all over the place now. It's becoming, this can become a pretty regional event.
Right.
Yeah, a contact recently in that negotiation mentioned that in his experience, there aren't many POW-MIA events happening anywhere nearby. So when he heard this, he said that sound, you know, very good. It's September, so it's not too late.
Right.
But one of the other things that's happened with this, there are no restrictions on Veterans Park. We don't have any posted rules or anything like that. But we've had a lot of the public boil up their ideas. Churches have choir events. There has been last summer there was a motorcycle rally where over 200 honor and remember
Patriot
motorcyclists, Patriot Guard.
Oh, Patriot Guard. Sure.
Many of them were Gold Star families too,
Okay,
who've
sure.
lost a son, and they came in, and they had a ceremony right there, and all we had to know real quick was what's it going to do to traffic. We didn't say you could or you couldn't. They just are polite enough to ask, and we want it to be open to anybody who goes up there with an honorable event that honors the veterans and their families, and so that's what we want to keep passing out to the public. And we have a website that was put up by WebWolf, and on there
They've
is a
been very
calendar.
helpful.
Huh?
They've
Yeah.
been very helpful for the organization.
We wouldn't be halfway there if they hadn't come along and started that for us pro bono.
Right.
And on there is a calendar of events. So you can click on there and you can look through the months right now and see what's going to be happening through the year on parades or Flag Day, or when does the flag go up, or when's it at half staff. So there's a lot of people helping out silently.
Right.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I couldn't do these events without all the
Without-
people that I have
Yeah, I suppose.
helping. You know, he mentioned the choir, you know, the school choir that comes down for the events and sings. And, you know, we have both honor guards that are down there. Last year we had a guest speaker that came in for the event. And obviously, you know, none of this can be done alone. You know, Veterans Park was an idea, and now was all brought together by so many people putting their hands in there. And not just hands and thought, it's coming from the heart. I've been to a lot of events, I've been to a lot of parks, and there's just something that captivates you when you go to Veterans Park. It just, people are going to drive by and stop. It's almost like Field of Dreams.
Right.
If you build it, they will come.
Yeah, right.
You know, it really, you can't help but stop by. And, you know, last night I drove past and you saw footprints in the snow. So people are, it's cold and people are still stopping by.
And if they look for pavers at this point, it's difficult because it's all covered with snow. And what's the reason for keeping it covered like
Well, we didn't want to put heavy equipment on top of the
Right.
cement, so we weren't sure what that was going to do, so it's better to err on the side of caution
Right.
and leave it pristine. Though we did have one fella there who had an emotional outburst where he was going to shovel off the whole plot, which he did. It was amazing by hand.
That was for Veterans Day.
Yeah,
That's right, yeah. I
and he
remember
went to town. So if somebody's, it's kind of like you're giving permission now, but if somebody really wants to find their dad's paver, just use a plastic shovel. You know, if you're looking, you have an idea where it's at to show somebody. But we're trying not to make it a restrictive, and I don't believe we ever will. I think
Yeah.
it'll always be open.
Yeah, I
Well, the
could see-
layout plan of it also is really nice too. And then when you go to WebWolf Design and you click on the link that talks about where you can find the paver, you don't have to go and do the guessing of where
Sure.
the brick is.
Yeah, I think we have in the book right here, if you can get that, it shows the layout of the park in a virtual image. And it gives you the website location to find it, but it'll tell you where that paver by name is going to be. So if you have a rough idea here, you can go and find it. You don't have to walk around. There's 1,224 pavers in there, so that's a lot of looking.
It is,
Yeah, it's about 1/3 at capacity right now.
sure.
And that's probably the most asked question right now is where's my
I
paver?
suppose, sure. Yeah. The more pavers you sell, of course, that's going to even draw more people, because I think if people have an investment in that project, why they're more likely to show up for different events. So,
We're still out. We're probably still out about 3 to 5 years. We want to do it honorably, leave some open space, you know, so it's not crowded.
right,
And part of the committee's duty is to make sure you can forecast what we're going to do in the future, where we might put new bricks if we ever had to expand. So anything that the public feels they want to know or input, just get it to one of the three of us or on the website, and we will bring it to the committee meeting and, you know,
Sure.
run it by everybody. We're all equal on that vote.
right. Well, another thing I was going to mention or wanted to bring up was the business of other people, not just the board members, but other people who have helped out or are still helping out, volunteering for assistance in maybe even maintaining the site. Can you talk about that a little bit?
We have a, so we have a park cleanup in the spring. We got Mary Jo and Dave Teepee volunteered to, they're not on the committee, but they volunteered to head up our park cleanup in the spring. So it's just one group of people, and they, last year we had probably, I don't know, 10 or 12 people down there. And
So
I think
they,
that's
they
gonna
brought additional people.
Well, they brought some people, and then they do it, they coincide with the park cleanup for the city.
Oh, sure.
That hasn't been determined yet, but
Usually
it'll be in the spring.
In April, usually, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's just one group that wants to be part of the, you know, the park and put some time and effort into it. And I tell you, it's a wonderful help getting that cleaned up
Sure.
in the spring, because there is a lot of plant damage, you know, that goes
Right.
on during the winter, and so it really helps.
Any other
Yeah,
groups that come in?
we can't forget that there's 5 points on the star in the middle. There's the VFW, and there's the Legion, there's the City of North St. Paul, and the ROTC, and the 5th point is the veteran. Well, the ROTC bought in out of North High when we started in 2010. And of course, every year you have a graduating class, and every year we have new volunteers. And the two instructors there, Master Sergeant Bisgins and Master Sergeant Wilkinson, have had these young cadets come up, and they lower the flag on days that there's a national lowering of the flag, an event. So they come up there. They hold some ceremonies up there themselves, and they police the park as a group. So the future is these youngsters who come along, and as part of their education is to help honor the veterans in their community.
Some people may have wondered, how do those flags get raised and lowered? And that's a good thing to know, because some people wonder if it's automatic or...
They're always illuminated
Right.
by law. And if the lights went out, we'd have to lower the flag, but the students are there whenever the national, it goes out on the email from a certain couple of 3 groups that will tell you that a proclamation by the president or the governor said to lower flags at half-staff. So the ROTC, a member of the committee, or the city support from the fire department will come through.
Okay. And the general maintenance of the property, the grass cutting, and that's
That's
taken
all done by the city.
by the city. So
Correct.
that's another way the city has helped out too.
It is irrigated, so it does get sprinkled, and the lawn cutting is done by the city.
And there is a security system too.
And there is a security system.
And
you know.
that's good, because we know what happens if you don't have something like that.
Right.
So that's reported right to the city hall.
And we do have a couple bike racks now that were just put
Right.
in late last year.
Right.
So off the Gateway Trail, we get a lot of bikers right off the Gateway Trail that
Sure.
will come up to the park.
Was there anything else that you wanted to mention that we didn't cover? I think we covered quite a bit, but
Well, Lori is making a point out of advertising in the city newsletter that comes with the utility bill.
Lori Canley, and
Lori
she's
Canley.
sitting in our audience. That's who you keep looking
That's
at.
right. I'm making sure she's still there. She's our right-hand person.
Right.
But she puts that announcement in the city newsletter, and it says, hey, there's free books up at City Hall, and if you print it, they will come, and that's
Yeah,
what's happening.
That's another one, yeah.
So we
Right.
have to keep that going on to let the people know
Sure.
what's happening on the
Okay.
park.
Well,
Just like to mention one thing too, is that not only is it a walking trail, but if you see airplanes going by, there are airplanes that actually come to the park, because overhead you can see the park. It's very,
I
very
suppose.
brightful.
Sure.
And we've had numerous planes that are coming around just
Yeah.
to see the park.
That was the comment that the guys made too. The Navy SEALs, they said the same thing.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous from the sky.
Well, believe it or not, we're out of time. We've been talking to Dan Fisher, Terry Furlong, and Angela Strong, all members of the North St. Paul Veterans Park Committee, and we're out of time on this month's show. Join us again next month when we'll bring you more news about North St. Paul I'm Paul Anderson, speaking for everyone at the City of North St. Paul. Thank you for watching.